Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rodale Institute webinar sessions. It has been 11 months since last time I gave you a webinar on vegetable systems trial. And today I have very exciting results to share with you. And so I will be talking about the impact of soil management on soil health and vegetables. I want to give you some outline so you would know what to expect and how we are moving through the webinar. First, I will give you a quick background of the VST, especially for those new attendees, and then highlight the results that we had collected in the last 6 years. Mainly, I will point out the changes in soil health indicators related to bulk density, soil carbon, soil labile carbon, and soil protein. And then the second section, it will be on the impact of mycorrhizal fungi on winter squash yield, winter squash vitamin C and B6, and phosphorus mineral concentrations. I will share with you some of the outreach venues that we did throughout the year so far. And then I will open the session for Q&A. You could realize that I have been not able to speak as before because I am sick and I'm trying to give my voice as much as I can. I will close the video now so I can be better focused on the presentation. The Vegetable Systems Trial, or VST, was established at Rodale Institute in 2016. It was established to run indefinitely on 2.6 acres that includes the buffers and designed to have a regional, national, and international scope. Mainly, we assess the impact of cropping systems, organic versus conventional, and management practices, such as reduced tillage with intensive tillage, on soil health, nutrient density of crops, and consequently link those two to human health. The major crops that we use are beans, potato, winter squash, lettuce, and sweet corn. And these were based on decisions made by the advisory group that include the growers, organic and conventional. Also, the advisory group who mentioned that these crops would be mostly economical for Pennsylvania and the region. So these crops either represent a leaf or a fruit or a tuber. You know that vegetables are very many, but we select the most important one in 2.6 acres. When we say organic, we depend mostly on the cover crops that provide nitrogen. In this case, we include hairy vetch along with the cereal rye, and we roll crimp it, or we till it in for the intensive tillage with plastic, or we roll crimp it for the reduced tillage. In the case of the conventional, we use only cereal rye because the conventional growers depend mostly on synthetic fertilizer. And in this case, you could see to the right here that it is the cereal was sprayed by herbicide, glyphosate. And so the difference is that one of them has legume, cover crop, the other doesn't. And when we burn the herbicide with the herbicide on the conventional, we roll crimp into the organic. The intensive tillage is just to show you, we use the moldboard plowing, we disc and pack, we prepare the plastic mulches. As I mentioned, reduced tillage, it is to reduce the amount of tilling and losses of carbon to the atmosphere. Mainly, as I mentioned, we need to link the cropping system and management practices soil health. And today, I'm going to show you how those factors affect soil health indicators. Some of those that we measured between 2016 and 2022. Also, we'll talk about how soil health may affect plant nutrient density. While we don't have more rigorous data at the point, but I can show you how the soil health impacts some of the nutrients that we have in some of the vegetables. The expected outcomes are to provide science-based information to our growers, to consumers, to professional educators, and mostly to everyone who is interested in managing their soil to make a better choice in using equipment, in using management practices, and protecting the soil and the environment, and producing and eating nutrient-dense crops. In 2016 and 2019 and 2022, at the end of each crop rotation, which is 3 years, we take deep soil cores, and we take them from the 48 plots that we have, and we section them afterwards into 5 sections, 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 60, and 60 to 100. And we assess in every year, in every section, all these parameters, the physical, chemical, biological properties, including the total density, aggregate stability, chemical and biological, you name it. Today, I'm going to focus on 4 of those important ones: the bulk density, the total carbon, labile carbon, which is called POC, and the soil protein. Let's start with the results. As I mentioned, today I will give you results from 22 compared to those in 2016, which is the baseline reference. The bulk density. Let's explain a few things here because you will see them more frequently. So if I look here at the blue bar, it represents the organic. If I look at the conventional, it is represented by the orange. If I look at 2016 and 2022, you could see that if we go by depth, the bulk density is increasing at deeper depth. Comparing 2016 to 2022, we could see that at 0 to 10 and 10 to 20, we could see that the conventional orange bar is showing a soil bulk density greater than the organic in the 0 to 10 and 10 to 20. And that's significantly based on the statistics. When we look at the same information for soil bulk density, now we are looking at intensive tillage covered with the black plastic, which is the dark gray bar, and reduced tillage. Again, if we go with depth, you could see that it is getting bulkier. But what is interesting for us, in 2022, you could see that the intensive tillage with plastic was soil bulk density was greater than the one in reduced tillage. So this is a good information to see that reduced tillage is showing us a better results in reducing the bulk density. So now we are looking at soil carbon. Again, in 0 to 100 centimeter in 2016 and 2022. The soil carbon, you could see that it is highest in the first top 20 centimeters and decreases with depth, which is very normal. So it is about 2.6, 2.7 in 2016. However, if you look here in 2022, we have increased the carbon in the soil, in the organic, significantly, as well as in the more than the conventional, and in the 10 to 20 more than the conventional. So we are increasing the carbon in the organic. But if we look at the conventional, from 2016 to 2022, the carbon in the soil is declining. So here's very important information that more of the organic is increasing the carbon in the soil. But after 6 years, we started with a very good soil. After that, you could see that the carbon is declining. Similarly, we are looking at soil carbon in the black plastic and reduced tillage. Again, in the first 20 centimeters, you could see more of the carbon in the first 20 centimeters and declines with depth in both years. But what is more important for us, that strongly, significantly, that the reduced tillage, with, which is represented by the light bar here, tan colored bar, is greater than the intensive tillage with black plastic. So here is more information for us to know that not only organic, we are increasing the carbon, but also using reduced tillage. And that after 6 years, we could say we saw these differences. But again, you could say, well, you could see here that there is a less in the 10 to 20 in 22 versus here, which is normal, but it wasn't significant when we compared them. Let's look at the epoxy or the labile carbon. Labile carbon is a rapid indicator. It builds up in the soil over time, and its accumulation indicates a long-term stabilization of organic matter. Meaning, when we talk about resilience adverse to climate, we need always to think not only with organic matter, with carbon, but also with epoxy, because it is the signature and a quick indicator to tell us whether our soil is resilient in case an adverse climate is coming. This is very important. Again, organic is a blue bar, conventional is orange bar. You could see that the epoxy, the labile carbon, is mostly in the top 20 and decreases with depth. What's more interesting to us, that although we have seen small increases in the conventional, we saw bigger increases in the organic. And so not only organic system able to increase our carbon, but also the labile carbon, which is very important in this case. So what these numbers tell us, that if we look into the soil quality sheet, data sheet published by Cornell University, when we started, we were about between 500 to 700. So we were here in the yellow zone. After 6 years, the organic became in the blue zone, almost giving us a score of 98. So, meaning I packed enough labile carbon in my soil over the 6 years that it is like becoming a buffer for any major climate effect that may happen in the future. So when you want to make sure you are looking at your soil health, look at POC and see where you fit. I have seen data where their POC is about 300, 400, and that's in the red zone. And I would say that for our 20 to 30 centimeter, as we continue the vegetable systems trial, 10, 15, 20 years, you name it, I suggest to look back and see how we look into the POC and we increased it. And that's what we are doing. We are monitoring all these parameters to see how they are changing at every level and in which systems and management practices. Similarly, we can look at the biocarbon according to the management practices, and you could see that it is also greater in the 20 centimeter in 2016, but increased in both intensive tillage and reduced tillage, but was more pronounced in the 0 to 10. So we are building slowly in the 0 to 10, and I am sure in another 6 years, we are gonna continue building even in 20, 30, and 30 to 60. That's what I vision we would see in the future, 6 years, 12 years from now. But that's the benefit of doing research and doing science, by verifying and finding how long it's gonna take us to go from one level to the other, and if we are in the range of being resilient or not. This is the beauty of science. Again, if you look at the level above 700, we are already in the blue zone. Let's look at protein at the moment. The protein is also another soil health indicator and a rapid one, but this time for potentially available organic nitrogen. When we say potentially available organic nitrogen, meaning it is not the mineral nitrogen that is always available in the soil, meaning it is like a budget in the soil in the form of organic, will be available when the circumstances of the soil conditions would encourage those organic nitrogen to mineralize and become available. So it is very important, and it reflects back to be a cold soil protein. Again, we found as we go, most of the protein is higher in the 20 centimeter, but we increased dramatically only in the organic, not in the conventional, the protein levels. And that increase was about 49%. In the reduced tillage for the soil protein, we saw it again in the 0 to 10, more than in the intensive with the black plastic. So a summary for this section, we have 6 years of data from initiation, and we found that soil bulk density increased in the top 20 and was more pronounced in the conventional and black plastic intensive tillage. Implementing organic and reduced tillage increased soil carbon, while conventional black plastic decreased soil carbon. Coupling your organic system with reduced tillage, coupling the organic system with reduced tillage has built soil carbon in VST the labile carbon, and protein. And as a result, we expect these practices to provide resilience to environmental challenges. Why I say we expect? Because we didn't have yet any environmental challenges, but that's what I bank on, that I am having enough resilience in my soil in case something happens. And that's what we will see in the future. Implementing the conventional system has led to a reduction in soil carbon. Yes, it is evident now that it affected at least the 0 to 10 and 20, 10 to 20 centimeters. The other section of this webinar is about the vegetable systems trial, winter squash. Winter squash has multiple benefits, health benefits. It's rich in vitamins, minerals, source of fiber, carbohydrate, low in carbohydrate, and contains antioxidants. Yes, we have many challenges in reduced tillage. Winter squash yield is lower in the reduced tillage than in black plastic. Despite that, we are gonna look into what other options we have to improve, if any, the yield or the nutrients. So let's go together and look at that. Remember last year, I introduced you to a project that I'm working with Dr. Wade Haller and Dr. Joe Carrara from USDA ARS in Pennsylvania. And we conducted a 2-year project where we grow the arbuscular mycorrhiza in grow bags, and then we inoculated these mycorrhiza, the bahia grass, and then we harvested the spores, and we grow the seeds into seedlings for winter squash. We mixed the media mix 1 to 10. We mixed it thoroughly and we seeded in trays. The treatments, we have muck, which is the inoculum sterilized, meaning it is not working, meaning it is sterilized, no life in it. Then we took mix, which is coming from the VST-ORG plots. So we went to the VST organic plots, and we found there is a mix of species there. And so these mixed species, we inoculated the bahia grass and we harvested the spores and we inoculated the winter squash. Another 2 arbuscular mycorrhizae fungi, these are single species, Rhizophagus irregularis and Phaneliformis mosaic. So we are comparing the mix to the single to the muck, which is sterilized. We looked at yield. We want to see if that makes any difference. We looked at vitamins, C and B6. We looked at minerals, proteins, and amino acids. But today, I'm not gonna talk about all of them. I'm gonna talk about the first 3. And mainly in minerals, I will focus on phosphorus because mycorrhiza is very well known for phosphorus. We looked at yield, and there was no significant effect either in the cropping system or the arbuscular mycorrhizae. So the average was about 24,950 kilogram per hectare. So yet we are not able to make changes to that. When we looked at the black plastic and reduced tillage, yes, definitely, we are below 10,000 kilograms per hectare in the reduced tillage. But we are still going to work on it and improve it, and we'll find a way for that. But let's look at what the arbuscular mycorrhizae showed us. We looked at the vitamin C. We found in both years that there was no changes. They are all the same. We looked at vitamin B6. In 2021, we found that these single species, they were greater than the mixed species, about 15%. Then when we looked at the 2022, they were all the same except the mixed species was lower. And these were about 0.850. If we go back to this one, even those were 0.7, between 0.7, 0.8, the single ones. The 2022 were a little bit more in the 0.85. So there was an increase. Let's look at the phosphorus. When we looked at the phosphorus in 21 and 22, 21 is the blue bar, 22 is the green bar. We are looking at conventional and organic. Definitely there is no differences in the yield, and I could have put those together in one bar, but I wanted to show you that we didn't have any changes related to the fruit levels of phosphorus according to the cropping system. But when we looked at winter squash phosphorus levels in the black plastic versus the reduced tillage. So let's look at this slowly. So here we have black plastic, and that's in 21, the gray bar is lower than the reduced tillage in 2021 in the gray bar here. So reduced tillage has more phosphorus, meaning winter squash fruit has more phosphorus when it is grown in the reduced tillage versus the black plastic. When I look at 2022, again, I can see more phosphorus in the fruit. Let's look at if there is any differences across the arbuscular mycorrhizae treatments. In 21 and 22, we did not see differences. But one thing stood out, that every time we could see this species, Phanaliiformis mosaic, is greatest, is higher, and showing more of the phosphorus levels in the winter squash. So this is really important for us to know. We are still working on compiling the data for the proteins and the different amino acids, essential and non-essential. And we are compiling those into manuscripts that we will be publishing soon. And next year, we will share with you more of the information. So stay tuned for next year as well. Give you some more data. So the summary for this section and future focus. Inoculation with arbuscular mycorrhizae fungi did not affect winter squash yield. It did not increase much of the yield in reduced tillage, which we wanted that to happen. Winter squash yield was greater in black plastic than reduced tillage. 1 year out of 2 years, the vitamin B6 concentration was greater with single species than the mixed species. Fruit phosphorus levels were greater in reduced tillage practices than in black plastic over 2 years, which means something to me. So potentially, and I'm saying potentially because we still need to do some statistics and correlations and regression, we can link that the phosphorus levels in winter squash to soil health indicators, because we have seen that reduced tillage practices has increased the carbon, the protein, has increased the epoxy, and it seems phosphorus is one of those that increases in the reduced tillage as well. So this is a good evidence that we are trying to get more information, which of those minerals or amino acids or differences in nutrients are related to reduced tillage or related to intensive tillage. Because we could say, well, nitrogen always is higher in the intensive tillage because it has a different pathway than the phosphorus. Challenges bring opportunities to explore solutions and validate implementation of practices and enhance soil health, yield, and nutrient density. Future work will be continuing to enhance crop yields, nutrient density, in reduced tillage practices, as well as looking into how to accumulate more of the soil health indicators and relate them to human health. Now, we have not talked about the other parameters like the soil microbiome mass, the functionality, and those would be very important because all the work is done by microorganisms. So this would be the next chapter to talk about next year, where we are going to look into how the microorganisms impact or are impacted in the conventional organic systems and in the intensive and in the reduced tillage. Let me share with you some of our venues of outreach we conducted this year. I had 3 presentations, invited presentations to be given at regional and national conferences. In fact, were given. We did one at the Mid-Atlantic. We did one at the PASA in Lancaster. And recently, I just came back with this call that I have from St. Louis, where I presented in a symposium, Challenges and Opportunities of Sustainable Organic Vegetable and Fruit Systems. So I talked about the challenges and I talked about the fruits and how we are looking into the future. The field day at Rodale Institute, we had 443 attendees this year in July 21st, in 2023. Recently, in September, we wrote a web article. Dr. Wade Heller, Dr. Joe Carrera, and Abia Carrera were co-authors of this web article, Mycorrhizal fungi, the colonizer, mediators, and protectors of the ecosystem. We are currently writing another web article, and as soon as we get it ready to be posted, it would be probably in a month or the 3rd week of December. We are going to make sure that it is sent to many people. Your information about that, if you have like in newsletters or anything, you will always learn about these web articles when they are posted. I just want to acknowledge the collaborators and the funders that they are working at different levels, meaning that each subject in the VST, we have so many subjects that we work on. So each in their expertise, we are looking into different scenarios or different assessments, those in the microbiomes, those in the enzymes, those in the pesticides, you name it. So I just want to bring to your attention that next week we will have Janjun Khan from Strauss Water Research Center and Diana Ovido. They are going to talk to us. I will be part of that webinar, but we will focus on the microbiome as well as the extracellular enzymes that we found in the bees, in the VST, as well as the nutrients. I want to thank the funders that without them, it was not happening, because their belief and their understanding of how long it takes to verify is very important for me. And so I really appreciate every single funder in any level. They contributed to many of those topics and to continue working together on addressing how we can improve our soil health and our human health. I want to thank and appreciate our Roder research team as well, the field operation team, the research interns. All those are important components of our successes. And I think it is very valuable sources that we have here together. And with that, I want to thank you for listening. This is my email, and I will open the question and answer in just a few seconds. Somebody is asking what the bulk density is synonym to soil porosity. Yes, it is, because when you have more porosity in the soil, you have more air. The soil would be fluffier, meaning it's not compacted. The more it is compacted, the more you are putting more soil, meaning you are releasing that air and the porosity is lower. Is it safe, another person, is it safe to use the black plastic in the garden as plastic material, leach toxins? The black plastic that we use, it is certified, already certified for using in the organic systems. It is not the biodegradable, although I have not tested the leaching of toxins out of it, but it is already documented that it is already certified. What is soil poxemia? This is another person. This is a, what we call it, labile organic carbon, meaning it is labile. It is like your cash, but it is in a cash, but it is sitting in the bank. It's labile. It is sitting in the bank. It is available during the growing season for the plants to pick from it. It is very helpful to know this indicator because it tells us how much we packed into the soil for any resilience or climate. Ikramullah, thank you for your nice presentation. I have a question. Under what conditions or situations the organic nitrogen would be utilized or mineralized in soil? The organic nitrogen, when it changes, it requires certain soil conditions. These include moisture and temperature. So most of the organic nitrogen would be if the two conditions are available, especially in the warmer season, such as in our region here, between June and August. In Florida, let's say, you will have it most of the time, except in the winter. It has a higher rate of changing and mineralize in the soil than we have here. So, in another word, if I am trying to build up soil quality, soil health in Florida, it is much more challenging than if I build it in North America or the upper region of Northeast America, because we don't have much long warm season like we have in Florida. And we don't have pouring rain, although we have some rain, but not as usual as in Florida. So the areas in the north of America, they are colder. So that's why you will see more of the soil in the north are really good quality of soil that has a lot of organic matter. How is the soil prepared to plant in reduced tillage? Okay. If we are doing the organic system, we grow the cover crop from fall till spring. When it is at anthesis, it is flowering, it meaning it is making those anthers. We roll crimp with the roll crimper. And then we transplant with a reduced till transplant. Previously, we did transplant with hands, but recently we found a good transplanter that we have used it for organic as well as for conventional no-till transplanter. Now, for the conventional reduced tillage, we grow again the cereal rye from fall till spring. When the cereal rye is at anthesis, we go and we burn it with the herbicide glyphosate to mimic the conventional systems, conventional growers, what they do in their soil. Then, if we are seeding, we tapped into monosem, which is used in the agronomic crops for seeding, let's say, beans. But if we are transplanting winter squash, we use the no-till transplant. Maybe in the picture I showed you, you saw the monosem and the roller crimper in the front, but that was only to balance the tractor. So the roller crimper was not rolling crimping. Bill, at the back, can you explain the methods used for reduced tillage plots? We did that. Which cover crops, planting dates, etc. Okay. So which cover crops? In the organic, we did use hairy vetch. We planted those 30 pounds per acre. And in the organic also, we use cereal rye organic at 90 pounds per acre. And the reason we use 30 pounds over the other rates, because we found this is a good range where we could use it to keep the mulch of the cereal rye there and to tap on the legume, the nitrogen that comes from a legume. This doesn't mean that we are not adding organic fertilizer. Yes, we do. But as organic grower, we are mimicking organic grower on a large scale where they use the legume leguminous cover crop at a certain rate to get nitrogen and supplement the rest of the nitrogen from organic fertilizer. Planting dates, it ranges. It is best to plant your cover crops. It depends where you are. If you are in my region, it would be better you do that between August and September. The later you seed hairy vetch, it would be difficult for the hairy vetch to grow as fast, especially if the weather was not comfortable to get it to go. But you can still seed it in October or September. The cereal rye, if you are following a long crop and you want to put cereal rye, you can, because cereal rye in our region, even if we put it in September or October, can still go more than hairy vetch. So thank you for your kindness, for your sweet comments. It's my pleasure to share with you information based on science, to give you enough to know how much work we are doing here to show the world how we work together to make things better towards better environment, better health for the soil and for the human. Everyone who put their thanks, I'm very appreciative of your sweet and kind words that you put there. Definitely, it's my pleasure. Everyone, and everyone we have there. There is somebody, Emerson Herrera. What do you think about biochar? The size is a factor in the soil. What size do you recommend? Emerson, biochar, in my opinion, is a natural material. It has a good and bad things. But the good thing, if you can find a good quality of biochar, when I say a good quality, meaning low in heavy metals, according to USDA allowable levels. When these heavy metals are low, in my opinion, is good to use. In fact, in the last few weeks, I have been talking to my colleagues here to see if we can start and initiate a new project related to using biochar. What size? It depends on what you want to achieve. I don't have much information at the moment, but if you quickly go and Google, not Google, if you have access to publications, you can find people have worked on sizes and their impact. If you don't have access to publications, you can Google and look at people who worked in biochar and the size and what they found when they used the sizes. In less than a month, we expect another web article coming with some data. And the more we have data, we are going to make more web articles. Before we head out, I want to wish you a great day or night and be happy. And we'll see you next week again. I have more to come, and we hope I would be much better, not feeling that sick as today. And we hope you will enjoy our webinars. If you have always a question, you know how to reach me and contact me. See you soon. Bye-bye.